Welcome to Explore Owens Week. Our session we are about to show you is talking about the selective health admissions process. This video was created by one of our academic advisors and the selective health coordinator. So please join us in viewing this video on our selective health admissions process. And you will be able to see contact info in the comment sections of this video if you have follow-up questions.
Hi, and welcome to Owens Community College Selective Health Information video. The Selective Health Admissions Specialist is responsible for the selective health process. So when you as a student are getting ready to apply for a selective health program, you will work with your pre-health program advisor to make sure that you have what we call a complete file or checklist. This checklist is made up of a handful of specific requirements that are needed in order to apply to your specific program. You can apply to more than one program, but we limit that maximum amount of programs you apply for at 3. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Our largest selective health deadline is January 15th. At that time, most of our programs will be available to apply for either a summer or fall start. These programs include dental hygiene, diagnostic medical sonography, health information technology, licensed practical nursing to associates of nursing degree, magnetic resonance imaging, registered nursing, occupational therapy assistant, physical therapy assistant, radiology, surgical technology, and vascular sonography. If for some reason the amount of seats that are available for any one of those programs aren't filled at that date in January, the program will have a secondary review in either May or June. The May reviews are for programs that start in the summer. The June reviews are for the programs that start in the fall. So for example, if a program has 30 allotted seats, but there's only enough qualified candidates for 20 seats, then they will hold an additional second review. We do also have an August review, and this is for some of our nursing programs. So in the August review, or the fall review is what we usually refer to it as, those programs will start the following January. Any January review program will start the following summer or fall, like I mentioned previously. Those fall reviewed programs are the RN program and the LPN to RN program for the Toledo campus. So previously I talked to you about the complete file checklist, so let's go over that. So on the Owens website, you will go to the A to Z index, and then you can go to college catalog. You can go to School of Nursing and Health Professions, and then let's just pull up the nursing program. So you'll go to program information once you pull up the catalog, and the complete file checklist will be under admissions requirements for each and every program. So under admission requirements, so number 1, you need to have a cumulative GPA of 2.5 or better on a 4.0 system in order to gain any points. You also need to have 11 credit hours within those classes that make up the GPA. 3 of those credit hours must include a required math or science course within the nursing program. If you are not a college applicant, then your high school GPA will be used. So if you don't have those 11 college credit hours, then we will use your high school GPA. The second requirement is a completion of a full year of high school level chemistry with a grade of a C or better. If you did not complete a full year in high school, you can take 1 semester at the college level at a C or better. The next requirement is a full year of high school level biology at a C or better. If you didn't take it in high school, you can take a semester in college and that will qualify you. The fourth requirement is an ACT. We also have SAT. You can take the ACT or SAT. In order to start gaining any points, you need a 20 or better. You also need to take what we call the TEAS test. So TEAS is essentially the health professions version of an ACT. So it's a little heavier in math and science in order to prepare you for the health field. One thing about the ACT and the TEAS test can usually be taken up until the deadline. ACT, it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks for the organization to score the tests and then return them back to the campus. So TEAS you can take up until the day before the deadline. ACT you will want to plan well in advance. I would say at least 3 months in advance, because you need to register usually about a month beforehand. And then, like I said, it takes 6 to 8 weeks after that. You can also take a residual ACT, which instead of the national is only used on Owens campus. So you can't transfer that grade to any other institution or that score, but you can use it here on Owens campus. And then lastly, for nursing, the requirement of the state tested nursing assistant course. So this doesn't need to be done for the complete file checklist, but once you're accepted, you need to have this done before the first day of classes. And then any transcripts from high school or previous college institutions need to be on file in order for your file to be complete. For the other health programs, the nursing has a few different requirements, but for the other health programs, let's look at dental hygiene. The requirements, as you'll see, are going to be similar. The other health programs usually don't require an STNA, and if they do, it's usually embedded into the program. There are a handful of programs that will require an STNA, but again, that's not a complete file requirement. That is required by you before you can start the program. Okay, so now that we know what it takes in order for you to have a complete file for the program, we can look into seeing what will actually get you into the program. We use an objectives point system, and we use what we call a tally sheet in order to calculate your points. So once again, there are 2 different ways to calculate your points. There is a way that the nursing program calculates points, and then there's a way that all the other health programs calculate points. They're mostly similar, but the GPA is pulled a little bit differently. So let's go over that. Okay, so this is the tally form that we use in order to calculate your points. So as you can see here, your GPA, whether it be high school or college, is calculated here. So the GPA that we use for your college is, like previously stated, as long as you have 11 credit hours, we will calculate you as a college applicant. So if you have a 3.0 GPA, you will get 12 points and we'll score that here. With your high school GPA, as long as you have under 11 credit hours within the 10 classes that are required within the program, which are these classes. So all of these classes, not including the nursing classes, are what make up your GPA. So basic nutrition, anatomy and physiology, fundamentals of computing, language of medicine, A&P2, psychology, microbiology and immunology, your composition course, your intro to statistics, and your principle of ethics. These are the only 10 courses, if you are an RN student, that will count in your GPA. If you took an art class, that will not count. If you only took 3 of these classes, unless you have 11 credit hours or more, if you do have 11 credit hours or more, they will count. If you took 3 classes like basic nutrition, A&P, and IST 100, you would only have 7 credit hours here. So you would still be considered a high school applicant, and we would use that GPA. I want to mention, we always also ask that you meet with your advisor if you are unsure of what your points are. It can get obviously very confusing, so you want to confirm that score with your advisor, or even just let them calculate it for you. Okay, let's work down to the T's. So for the T's test, like I said earlier, it's a little heavier in math and science. As you can see here with the T's test, there are 4 different sections, and it is all based on your percentage. So one thing that's good about the T's test is that if you're really good at math, but not so good at reading, then you won't get your score averaged. You'll get the full points for whichever subject you're best in. So with reading and science, you start off scoring at 60 percentile. So that starts at 2 points here, and all of those will count over here. With math and English, those start at 70 percentile. So once those are calculated with a total of 16 points available, then we will add that to the total. All right, so for the ACT, you start gaining points at 20 or more. So once again, whatever your score is, we will circle that number and then add that to your total. One thing I will mention is that if you do not score, if you happen to not get any points from the ACT, if you got an 18 on the ACT and you didn't have time to retake, or you retook and got a 19 or what have you, just because you get 0 points doesn't mean you're ineligible for review. As long as you took the test, that's what we're counting on. So you can gain points and have enough from other sections in order to be an eligible candidate. Obviously, you want to get points in every section, and that's what will give you the best chance of getting into any program of your choice. But if you happen to not get any points in any specific section, as long as you attempted it and you tried it, then you would still be eligible for review. Okay, so lastly, with the science course completion section, with anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, as well as microbiology, on your very first attempt, if you get an A or a B, you would get a point or 2 points based on your performance. So if you get an A in Bio 211, you would get an extra 2 points, and then that would also obviously factor into your GPA as long as you have those other 7 credit hours that would count. Same with the rest of these. With the other programs, it is a little bit different, whereas they have the other health programs also have the same thing for Bio 211 and 212. However, the last course here is going to be your most recent math, and it actually does not factor in the first attempt. So it is actually the most recent attempt of math will be this last score here. And one thing that's new recently, if you have taken, and this will only factor in for January of 2021, if you have taken IPE 101, the same scoring system is available to you. So on your first attempt of IPE 101, you will, if you get an A or a B, then you could potentially gain more points that way. Okay, so when we as advisors are scoring your sheet, this is kind of what it looks like. So this gives you just a little bit of an example here. So this student had a 3.17 GPA once these scores were calculated. For the health programs, these 5 classes are the only courses that will count within the GPA. As we talked about in nursing, all 10 of these classes will count. For all the other health programs, it is just these 5 classes. So it's your most recent math, your most recent social humanities, and then Comp 1, and then your A&Ps. So this is only available to advisors, but just showing you exactly how we put in and score you. Say you got a 61.2 on your reading, an 89 on your science, 79 on your math, and 61 on your English. You would gain 7 points from the T's here. And then with your ACT, if you got a 22 total, then you get 3 points from that. With your bonus course completion, if you got a B for Bio 211, a C for 212, and failed your most recent math, then you would get 1 point here. Then for nursing, if you take these 7 classes, then with these grades, then the total GPA is a 2.6 with 8 points for the GPA. Same scores here for the T's. So let's say you got a 2.6 for your GPA, you would get 8 points there based on these courses. You would have 4 points here based on getting 3 points in your science and 1 point for your English. And then with ACT, you got a 19, so unfortunately that won't get you any points there. And then you got a C in your bio, so you get 0 points there. So total, you would have 12 points, and that would not make you eligible for the program. You need at least 15 points in order to be eligible for any of our health programs. One thing I will mention, as you can see, some classes have higher amount of credit hours than others, especially in nursing. There's quite the fluctuation between 1 and 4 credit hours. So if you do poor in a 4 credit hour, it's going to hurt you a lot more than doing poor in a 1 credit hour, and vice versa. If you do well in a 1 credit hour versus well in a 4 credit hour, it's going to make a bigger impact the larger amount of credit hours that there are in the class. One thing I also want to mention about the TEAS test is that you can only take it one time. So the first attempt that you take it, whether it's here or at another institution, you can only take it that one time. So we want to make sure that you're as prepared as possible. There are resources online that you can use. Let me pull up the testing services page. On the left-hand side here, you can see ACT testing, and you can also see TEAS testing. So TEAS, it explains it all. It has the TEAS prep website here, and then you can always find study materials and everything else here. So definitely check that out. Make sure you're as prepared as possible before taking it. With the ACT, you can take it. You can take it as many times as you want, but like I mentioned previously, you will want to make sure that you take it in enough time to make sure that you get it back within that 6 to 8 weeks before the review date. One other thing that I will mention is that if you take a transfer course, or if you took a anatomy and physiology at another institution and you transferred that in, that will not count in your Owens GPA, but it will count for your review GPA. So that's one thing to note, is to not pay any attention to your overall GPA when you pull it up on your student account, because when it comes to your health review, it will be quite a bit different potentially. Okay, so now that we went over the tally sheet and the complete file checklist and talked about the different amount of points that you can gain from different sections, we can talk about what it'll take to get into a specific program. We do have some pretty competitive programs, so although it only takes 15 points in order to be eligible for specific programs, it may take more than 15 points in order to be accepted into a program. So for example, one of our more competitive programs is the dental hygiene program. A lot of times it takes mid to upper 20s in order to get into the program, and the program offers 25 seats. So those 25 students in the previous reviews have gotten 25 or more points about. So when I say it takes about 25 points to get in, that 25th student had 25 points. Everyone after that could potentially be considered for an alternate position as long as they have 15 or more points. So if there's 50 students that applied, the first 25 would be accepted as long as they have 15 points or more. Anyone after that is up to the chair in order to offer alternate seating. So usually the dental program offers an additional 25 seats for alternates. And then if anyone that's already got offered a seat within the program either drops or does not respond in time, then an alternate would get moved up into that spot. So when I say doesn't respond in time, once the review deadline hits, so in this case January 15th for dental hygiene, once that review deadline hits, that's when you have to have everything in the system. So at that point, when it will take a couple days for us to collect all that data and all that information, and then once we have that all collected, then it has to be, every individual candidate has to be reviewed at that point. So it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks after the original deadline in order for you to get a response to let you know whether you've been accepted, whether you've gotten offered an alternate spot, or whether you've been denied and need to try again for next time. So although I say that usually it takes about mid-20s in order to get into the dental program, it could be different every year. So it just depends on the quality of candidate that applies to the program. So the programs that we have that are a little bit more competitive are dental hygiene, like I talked about, and then we also have our PTA program is usually pretty competitive. Our diagnostic medical sonography and vascular sonography programs are pretty competitive. In the middle, I would say our MRI program and radiology program, as well as our OTA program. And then what would get you in with 15 or more points, or I would say on the upper end of the teens, would be surgical technology, health information technology, and then lastly the RN program usually scores anywhere from 18 to 23 points within the last handful of years. So it just depends on whether it's a January or a fall review whether it's a spring or a fall review. That fluctuates a little bit, but within the last handful of years, it's been anywhere from 18 to 23 points in order to be accepted. Now, when I say that that's the amount of points that usually gets you in, that's, like I said, that's the last seat offered to the student that's been accepted. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't 6 alternates that had points that were lower than that. They didn't eventually get bumped back in. So if you are sitting at 18 points and you know that I said usually it takes 20 points to get in, there is still a chance if you're an alternate, but I just wanted to mention that. So I mentioned the amount of seats for most programs. I won't go over each individual program, but the program seats range anywhere from 8 to 10 seats all the way to 35 seats for most of our health programs. For our RN program, we offer 105 seats every spring and every fall. One thing to pay attention to is requesting your health evaluation. So you'll need to log into your Ozone account, and your Ozone account will obviously look a little bit different than mine, so because you're seeing mine at the employee version. But if you go to your academic info tab down at the right hand corner, in order to request the health evaluation, you need to click on this, and then you will see a drop down menu and it will show you all of your options. So like I said, you can request up to 3 health reviews or health evaluations. But if you know you only want to be reviewed for 1 program, you can do that as well. So once you request the health evaluation, you will get an email from the Selective Health email that will let you know, kind of give you a receipt and let you know that you successfully did it. If you don't get that email, then maybe you didn't hit submit or something went awry. So if you don't get that email, you'll want to make sure that you check in with your advisor. And then you'll also see right below where it says request a health evaluation that once the review is complete after that deadline and you get an email letting you know that you got offered a seat or an alternate seat, then you can click on accept or deny selective health seat. So at this point, if you do end up applying to 3 programs and you get offered an alternate seat for 2 programs and you get offered a seat in a program, you can accept your seat in the program and you can also accept your seats in the alternate spots if those are programs that you'd rather be in or you see yourself wanting to be in a little bit more. But if you get your first choice and you want to accept it, you can deny your other seats. You can accept a seat in any alternate spot. If you apply to 3 programs and you get accepted in all 3, you can only accept 1 seat. But if you apply to 3 programs and you get offered an alternate seat in all 3, you can accept a seat in all 3 alternate spots. But once you do get moved up, or say in that first example, if you got accepted in 1 and got an alternate in the other 2, if one of those other 2 are programs that you'd rather be in and you eventually get offered a seat in that, you would have to drop the seat that you're in and then accept that one. Your advisor is your 1 degree of separation between all of the resources on campus. And if you're trying to get into a program, they can sit down with you and let you know where you are in the process and what you need to do in order to be a good candidate for the program. They can also talk to you about a potential backup plan or a secondary program that you may be interested if you don't have enough points for the initial program that you're striving for. And lastly, usually in health programs, once you make it to a clinical site, you'll decide on what area is your specialty and what your real passion is. So at that point, usually if you do a good job at your clinical sites, we don't have to worry too much about jobs afterwards. However, if you do need help with career exploration or resume review or what have you, we do have a career services team that can help you with that, and I will put their information below. We do also have a handful of health programs that are non-selective. So usually it just takes a paper application in order to see if you're eligible for the program, and they are either certificate programs or degree programs. So usually our certificate programs are 1 year long. We do have a degree program that you can get finished in a 1.5 years, which is your medical assisting program. The medical assisting program has a certificate option as well as a degree option. We also have the dental assisting program, the medical coding program, the exercise science degree and certificate, as well as the sterile processing certificate. So if you're interested in any of those, just talk to your assigned advisor and they can get you connected with the right people. All right, so that's everything Selective Health. If you have more questions, feel free to call the main advising office at 567-661-2387, and they can get you connected with the right people. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for your presentation, Misha. We appreciate it. I do have questions commonly asked by students, such as how many times could you apply for the selective health admissions process?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We get that question pretty often. The amount of times that you apply to the program is limitless. So if you happen to not get into a program the first time that you attempt, you will go back to your assigned advisor and see what you can do to be a better candidate the next time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.